we're not that technological, I'm afraid.
right.
My wife is the maven, not
All right.
me. But
Well, no worries. I'm recording it too, and I'll post that on YouTube. And I also have a short video, which you won't see, but you'll hear 5 minutes of nice Pakbal cannon. Then we're going to be showing a whole bunch of slides, and I'll put that up on YouTube.
Ricky, who are you?
You'll hear people talking about it and a little narration. So we've got about 50 PowerPoint slides. The video doesn't have as many, unique stills because I didn't have that many when I put it together last night. So
Ricky, are you Herbie's nephew?
I'm looking at the list here just to make sure.
Can you hear me, Ricky?
I got 13 attendees according to the list.
Are you hearing me at all?
Oh yeah, I hear you. You guys, let me see if I can get everybody unmuted.
Rick is Herbie's nephew.
Everyone, everyone can be on. I've unmuted everybody, so you can say hello.
Yes, he's the instigator.
Hello, everybody.
So Uncle Ronnie, Ricky is my dad's brother's son. I know you've been asking for a while who Ricky is, and he's the coordinator.
He sounds very much like an engineer.
And very much like my dad, although maybe Ricky would prefer I didn't say that.
No, I take it as a compliment. You're going to hear a lot of the second part of the PowerPoint. I'm going to make you guys endure 5 or 6 years worth of punning cartoons that Herb sent me. So
I remember Herbie as a very humorous young man. We were teenagers together. I was at Herbie and Iris's wedding. To tell you the truth, I don't remember that much of it. I don't know whether I was the best man or whether Herbie's brother was the best man at the wedding. Maybe somebody else might remember that.
Hello.
Hi, sorry, didn't interrupt. Chris, you there?
I'm here.
All right. So yeah, right now we're sort of like going one by one. If you're online, so everything's good. You could just sort of type something in the chat if you want to be speaking. Jeff wrote something. Jill, you shouldn't need to install anything. You should run right in your browser.
I'm not on the computer. I'm just on the telephone.
No. Jeff Singer was Bill's grandson and Herbie's nephew.
Hello.
He's saying to Jill she can't seem to get it running in her browser.
Oh my gosh.
Hey,
What?
does anybody know Jill's phone number?
Yeah.
Could you type it in the chat window, and Jeff will call her.
I tried to call Jill this afternoon, but
Hey, can you guys be quiet for a minute? People can hear you.
Hey, Chris, mute your mic.
Rick, I'm here, but I don't have the mic.
Camera up there.
Somebody was yelling
I'm
below.
going to hang up.
Hey, no, don't hang up. I'm just saying to you, if you want to talk, just say something, chat something in the bottom of the window.
Somebody's calling me.
Hello.
I
that
just
Jill?
Chris, I think.
No, it's Jeannie.
Jamie. Oh, finally you made it. Great.
No, I can't figure this out.
All right. We'll give it a few minutes. We hear you. You're online. You're not dialed in, I can tell.
Okay, well, I'm trying to.
Well, if you're on, you should see a screen of some kind.
I do.
You can't see. Oh, okay.
Well, we have enough time. We could just take a few minutes and get someone to call you. You're on that 941 number in Gainesville. I forgot what it is.
My wife has an iPhone or an iPad. I don't know whether.
Yeah, iPad. I think Linda's using an iPad right now.
I'm using an iPad.
I don't know. I could pass you over to my wife, Marlene, of 55 years. Maybe she can use her iPad to do better than this phone communication. So is Linda there?
I am here.
Linda, are you using an iPad?
I'm using an iPad, but Ronnie, you're just fine even with the phone. I can hear you clearly, and if it makes it simpler, it's perfectly okay.
Okay. Well, as I said, I remember Herb quite well, of course. We were friends way back 65 or 70 years ago. I'm not even sure how many years. As I said, I'm Iris's brother, Ron Masaryk, living in Deerfield, Illinois. For whatever that's worth, that's how far out we are. It's just 7 o'clock here now. I guess you folks are at 8 o'clock. And you know, I remember Herbie quite well. He used to listen in on a radio program that would bring some hillbilly music, particularly religious music. I remember him sort of humming a song, I saw the light, and thank God, these kind of sort of Christian, but it was, you know, meant to be a little bit humorous for whatever that is. And I chuckled, and whenever he would, you know, tell a little joke, of course, my sister would giggle away there, and they were giggling together, just like lovebirds do when they're 18 or 19 years old. As I say, I don't remember the wedding too much, but I know I was there. But we visited a number of times in their home in upstate New York, where Herbie was teaching at a community college, and I remember their 3 daughters, of course, Linda, Jill, and Jeannie. Is Jeannie on the line? Is Jeannie?
Can anyone hear me? Because everyone else is talking, and I can't hear. I can't see. I'm blind.
We hear you, Jeannie.
Do you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
Okay. I'm going to stay
know
quiet because it's
Right.
because
If
of
you
Jeannie that I'm on this
prefer, it
phone.
might be better to hit that little
wanted to include me.
button that looks like a microphone on the top left, and that'll mute you. And then when you
did.
want to talk, just hit it again, and it goes green.
It's green now.
Right. So just click on it, and it'll turn red. That toggles your audio on and off.
Okay, and that will mute me.
That's correct. Right.
Okay, so I'm
And then
going
your
to sign.
camera, well, you should see on the screen, you should see the picture of your dad right now. I'm going to advance the slides as you guys are talking.
I don't want to monopolize this.
If any of you want to share what's in these pictures.
Oh, that's you guys.
Is it? Okay, so that picture on the upper right is my dad wearing a T-shirt. I got him from one of my trips to the Antarctic. And the lower right, I think, is Jeannie holding, is that Shadow or is that Sharky?
That's Shadow.
Shadow, my dad in the middle, as you can figure, and me. And
The top picture is actually my graduation, getting my master's at NYU with Mom and Dad visiting.
That's this one?
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
One.
Linda, I have this picture of you and Greg getting married from like,
No. Uh-huh.
it didn't come out all that well because I took a picture of a picture and tried to blow it up.
I'm afraid that the wedding picture you had was my first marriage.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, of course. So then, it's my memory's blurry too.
I only married Greg about 5 years ago. After living together for 27 years.
Well, I got the results I wanted. I was hoping we'd get some laughter here, because Herb would want us to. I never expected this would be too dignified, because I don't think your dad would like it. Although, befitting the occasion, I'm wearing a tie, but to keep in keeping with Herb's sense of humor, I'm not wearing any pants.
What's the house in the middle?
I think the house in the middle is his.
Pictures that I got sent by you girls over the last, since this morning, overnight, and so forth. There's one with Herbie in the snow. Knowing your weather up there, it was probably
That's the way it looks like now. So I'd like to say that that's my dad and me, of course, at the very famous Keene Pumpkin Festival, where Keene had the largest number of pumpkins many years in a row carved in one place at one time. My dad bought that T-shirt off a rack and got hid behind a rack and actually took off his original T-shirt in order to put on the previous year's T-shirt, which, by the way, was like $10 less money. I thought for sure I was going to be found out for like being with someone who was undressing himself in public. And my dad, despite complaining about the cold all the time, with every snowstorm, would make snowballs. And, of course, throw them for the dogs to catch. And, of course, most of the time they didn't last. But that was that snow picture is, I'm sure, from last year.
Actually, Linda, I had this picture for a couple of years that you sent me from Dad.
Yeah, the one from the Pumpkin Festival is several years ago.
All right, you ready to see some more pictures, guys?
Of course.
All right.
Can we have the attendees identify themselves, please?
Yeah.
Yeah, you should have. Maybe. Can I just jump in here a second? I'll mute. But can we get you to type it in the chat window down below as you're talking?
Chat window?
Yeah. Do you see on the right side at the top it says who's talking? So that tells you who's talking, kind of.
Right.
As long as not too much you're talking at the same time. So I'm going to mute right now. Underneath it, there's these little flip down triangles that say attendees and chat. And in chat, you can see the message. So I'm going to go ahead and mute myself now.
Underneath? Down low?
Wait,
Oh, here's the, oh, okay.
am I supposed to do something?
I don't know where you
You don't have to use the chat if you don't want. You just go ahead and say hello. When you unmute your mic, it'll say at the top.
Okay.
Talking, and then
So,
who it is.
so I'm Linda speaking. I'm Herb's daughter. And two of these pictures, of course, is the one on my left is my dad hugging my dog Bobo, and at one of his favorite ice cream joints, getting a nice generous portion of ice cream, smiling. And the one on the right, maybe one of my sisters can say, but that was on one of our trips as a family down to visit Jeannie in Florida.
I can see all that. That's wonderful, Linda.
I could.
You're there. Next to the ice cream.
The picture next to the ice cream is of the four of us.
Oh, great.
Yes,
The next pictures are a little more zoomed in, so this is probably the last of the composite pictures. So I'm going to skip over this one. There you go. Now we're getting into the full frame part of the slideshow.
Yeah, that's her right there. With the shirt from...
So that was my dad probably 35 years ago when I was in grad school.
And who is speaking?
Jill.
Sorry.
Jill, nice to hear your voice. This is Mark.
Hey, how are you?
Excellent.
Anyway,
I don't think I've talked to you since you were in Houston.
Right, I know. So anyway, my dad, that was 35 years ago, roughly.
So Jill, you're in Buffalo now? You're teaching at Buffalo State?
Right? I'm in my 30th year teaching.
30th year teaching. She's Himalayan
Wow, congratulations.
mountain.
You've got tenure.
A while ago.
Yeah. You wouldn't believe how
Oh.
little they pay adjunct professors at George Mason.
Uncle Rick, the
Basically
whole
getting
Singer
paid like
family
minimum
is
wage.
here.
Okay, this is one of Herbie's things. I'm kind of mixing it up. It says the phone's for you. So for the Florida end of the family that just doesn't know what snow's like anymore.
That's all like this morning.
Oh, my
All right,
goodness.
so looks like
So this
Herbie
is-
and Iris cross-country skiing up the street.
Right, so now I found some guys, this is from 1982, and it's when Mom and Dad lived in Luther Forest outside of Saratoga Springs. And they were cross-country skiing in the woods. Check out the hat.
Yeah, it's amazing. You got me on this. I would have guessed it was Panama City.
So anyway, this is Greg
Introduce yourself.
speaking.
Okay.
I'm Linda's husband, and it was in that setting that Herb and Iris really turned on to cross-country skiing, because I visited them for the first time up there, and we all skis and we went out skiing around the fall. I had a wonderful time.
And Linda, you look like your mom there.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Anyway, that was my husband, Greg, speaking. I don't know if he was too far away to be heard.
No, he was fine.
Okay,
Came in and out with the sound processing, but it was pretty good.
okay.
So
Sorry, I
this
missed
is
the
another
top of your dad's head there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is another picture I have of Dad, and I think it's probably back in his days when he was teaching at Hudson Valley, and I picked it out because he used to be skinny.
We used to be skinny.
And he did have hair. Somehow this got cropped a little bit. Sorry about that.
I think it was my fault when I
It's a nice picture.
zoomed it in over there. But I'm going to post up a lot of these pictures online too. So everything you sent me, I'm going to put it up on PhotoBucket and send you a link.
So then this is another picture I had of Dad. I think probably when he was teaching at Gulf Coast in Florida. So I'm going to guess maybe probably 20 years ago, something like that.
Is this
He has those same pair of eyeglasses.
Herbie used to like to tell me this story when we were talking about taxes. I guess it's appropriate, you know, death and taxes go together. But he told me about the time he was audited because he had deducted his work clothes. And he said he only wears suit jackets when he's at work. But they disallowed the deduction.
He was always being audited. I used to be petrified he'd be put in jail.
He doesn't have powerful
He
friends in
liked the
Washington.
challenge. He made friends. I can finally tell you how he stopped getting audited
Yeah, I'd like to hear that story.
when he went there instead of always
So
owing money.
this is from,
He never got
I know so this picture is from Mother's Day, May 1987. And I remember this because it was the day I graduated with my PhD from Rice. So my dad is holding something. It's not the diploma. It's whatever piece of paper they give you. And I don't know what my mother's holding. But my mother has my cap on. And anyway, it was a great weekend. So I like this picture.
It's beautiful.
Are there any pictures of Herb and Iris's wedding?
I have one later on, I think. So this is Mom and Dad. One time when they came up to, I guess, visit up here. I'm trying to think. So this is going towards Niagara on the Lake, and we stopped at some restaurant, and they were kind of goofing off, sitting in this toy car. So reenacting their first date.
Looks pretty innocent to me.
Oh,
I think
Sorry,
you pick one, Rick.
the one that was in between was I could back it up, but I don't see the point. That was
Yeah, I think
on some kind of composite with all the characters on Star Trek.
Yeah, that was, my dad loved that picture. So that was, are you able to go back? Just so
Yeah, let
people
me see if I can
it?
do it without disrupting anything. There you go.
Okay. All right, so one time when my dad was visiting up here in Buffalo, there was that traveling Star Trek show that went to a lot of museums. So anyway, my dad and I went, and he stood next to Captain Kirk. As you can see, he was really happy. So we had a great time, and he was like a little kid. So this is probably about, I'm going to say somewhere between about maybe like close to 25 years ago.
Well, I'm glad he didn't get zapped by that phaser. It looked like she just missed him.
Right, but he didn't, yeah, but Ricky, he didn't have a red security shirt on, so he was safe.
Yeah, that's right. I love that.
And I don't know, guys, maybe you can help me out. This is Dad, obviously. Is this his home office or whatever? I couldn't, or his office at Gulf Coast? I couldn't figure it out, but
Coffee machine behind him.
Is that
I
one of
don't-
my
I don't-
paintings behind him? There's a beautiful watercolor, it looks like.
yeah, so that's why I know it's definitely Florida, and I'm not sure if it's after he, you know, stopped teaching at Gulf Coast and moved stuff to his home office, or if this was at his office at the community college. And this is a picture of my dad at Seaside, Florida, one of our favorite places to go. And my mom and dad. It's really at Seaside, even though I think my dad's wearing a Cocoa Beach, Florida t-shirt.
When was this taken? Oh, do you have any idea when it was photographed?
Oh, when it was taken, probably, I'm going to say probably 20 to 25 years ago.
Yeah, they're looking good.
Yeah, your mom's beautiful.
And that's, again, at Seaside, that's me and my dad, and hopefully you can figure out who's who. That was probably also about 25 years ago.
And Allie. Oh, that was their 50th wedding anniversary.
Right. This is their 50th, and my dad, obviously on the left, and then there's me, Jill, Jeannie in the middle, Linda, and then my mom.
That's why she's in the job she is.
And I think a lot of you were at the 50th, which was really a nice event.
Because I guarantee
Where was this event?
It was at a, I think, a hotel resort, like, I think it was a Marriott resort in in Panama City Beach, Florida.
All right, I'm sorry, and what year do you think it was? You said it was 25 or 30?
I think it was 80.
1980, so that would have been their 30th.
Oh, let's see. I mean, no, so would it been, no.
This was their
2000?
50th.
Right, and they got married when, 1950, so it would have been 2000? Is that possible?
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds right. Herb got married,
Like
they
their
were
50th.
both 20 years old at the
Yes. They were very young when they got married.
Wow. None of us have any kids that young anymore.
And this is really this is a picture I've had of my mom and dad on a frame on my chest of drawers for years and years. It's my favorite picture of them at Seaside. probably taken 20 years ago, and I just think they look really nice. There's still sand dunes that hadn't been built on at that point, and they just look nice and happy.
It's a beautiful picture, Jill.
It is.
And then, you know, I'm not sure where I ended up with these, but these are scans of actual scans, but that's Max and Sarah and Grandpa Max, and he's holding little Herbie, and that's Bill.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So,
We've
isn't it a wonderful
I've
picture?
never
And-
seen
and-
this.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, and look at, I mean, isn't Sarah, look at her hair. I mean, boy, she was really quite, you know, that's not how I remembered her as a grandmother. But I just think it's a super picture.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. You could always see she was a petite woman, that's for sure.
Yeah, totally.
I have never seen that picture before. Can
And
you
I-
make
I
a
think-
copy of that and
Yeah,
email that?
I don't have a real good copy of it,
scanned
but yeah, all the pictures, I'm going to post them up on PhotoBucket. So they'll be viewable.
And I also would very much appreciate that picture of Herbie and Iris at the beach. That's one of the most
sure. Yeah.
pictures
No,
I've
Yeah,
ever
I
seen
mean,
of them.
with Linda and Jill's permission, and Jeannie, you know, whoever owns the pictures, just out of habit, I am very DRM, you know, image and video rights cognizant. So I'm assuming that if you're sharing this, I'll make it available just to the family, whoever
no,
has
it's
the link,
fine.
unless you feel otherwise.
It's fine to share. I think the other thing is, Ricky, what was the age difference between my dad and yours?
4
Were they
years.
5 years apart?
No,
Four?
No, exactly 4 years and 3 weeks. Dad was
So
born
I'm going to guess,
January 9th, 1926, and Herb was the 27th of January, 1930.
okay,
Yeah,
so I'm going to
to tell you
guess that
something. I would send you a picture of Jeffrey who's listening, and that picture of his grandfather looks just like he did at that age.
but I'm going to guess Bill must have been probably not even 5 years old in that picture, because it looks like Herbie was what, 6 months? I don't know baby sizes, but under a year, I would think, right?
About a year. I'd say about a year. Jeffrey,
I've got
Bill
a
looks
great interview with
4.
Max. I'm just going to share it with you on YouTube. Patty, my sister Patty, interviewed him at a party, and of course, the kids will all enjoy it because Max was 92 or 93. I'm guessing it was in 93 because Grace and I were down there before the children were born. So I think that was 93, and he would have been 91 years old when he did the interview. And Jeffrey and Gregory and Ryan and Jason were all running around the house like madmen.
There's 16.
Anyway, look for the link. I'll send it out later.
Super. And so this is Herbie, probably, what, 4, 5, 6? I don't know.
I've never seen these pictures.
I've seen
And
this
then-
one. This was in my mom's photo album.
Yeah, so this is Herbie and Bill. And look how skinny Dad's legs were.
No wonder he tells me stories of how Grandma was worried about his not putting on enough weight. Oh, that's the
And so
way.
this is the wedding picture.
Yeah, again, I'm sorry for the cropping and the slideshow. I didn't have a chance to edit it. I could have slid it
Not a
down.
problem at all. But anyway, so I think then this would have been
46?
1950, that 50, 51, whatever. because Dad had just turned, my father had just turned 21 and got married literally, well, they got married the next day because his birthday was the 27th of January. Their anniversary was the 28th of January.
You know, Max told me that Herbie was working for him in the store, and my dad and Barbara got married, I guess, pretty much the same year, and they went out to California because after my mom's parents died, her mother died the week before they were to have the wedding, and that was in October of, I think, 1950, because let's see, they had the 25th anniversary in 1975, so that would have been about right. But so they were both married around the same time. Bill was working for the May Company out in L.A., and my mom had just graduated NYU, I think, at the time. At any rate, they lived out there because Ben, and that's where the tuxedo business came from, because great-grandpa Minowitz got Ben into it, and Sam, and Bill took the tuxedo business back east. So when basically he relieved your father, Herb, of duty. So Herb was able to finish his master's degree and get into teaching. And he was from, according to Grandpa Max, he was thrilled to get the hell out of there. And my dad was trapped in the store for another 2 decades.
He was not happy working in the store.
I don't know anybody in our family was happy working in the store. Mark and I and Patty, we all did our stints there. It taught us a great life lesson. Never work retail.
He got good with the needle and thread.
So this is a picture of my dad was a grad student at RPI. And this is in front of the married student housing. So obviously my dad, my mom in the middle, and then on the right is my mother's mother, so our grandmother. So that's Regina that died shortly before Jeannie was born.
Oh, really? Your dad went to Rensselaer in New York State, which right. I know from my fellow electrical engineers that's considered right up there with MIT and Caltech and Stanford in the engineering department.
Yeah, well, you know, Ricky, as we said as kids, because my dad got into MIT and RPI, and because RPI's housing was slightly less expensive than MIT, we kids had to grow up in Troy instead of Cambridge. So we were very annoyed with that.
Yeah, well, it's...
And Greg is an MIT guy, right, Greg?
Right.
He interviewed RPI and didn't want to go there.
I don't blame him.
Cambridge instead of Troy.
Yeah, I don't know what it is from a couple of grandparents who were immigrants who I don't think even went to high school. All their kids have advanced degrees. I don't think any of the grandchildren don't. I mean, even, you know, I don't know if Jeannie's on the call, but everyone's gone to graduate school.
Right. You know, because when we were kids, I used to say when I was in kindergarten, I knew I was going to go to college. It took me to first grade to figure out I was going to grad school.
That's a wick?
Yes.
Okay, I could tell you about this. This is the port of arrival. It's at the top, so you don't see Grandma's name, but it shows the date. She came in on September 1920. This is from Ellis Island Records.
Wow.
And I'm sorry, this is out of order. That's the house on Eaton Street they got later. I don't know if you guys remember it.
Oh, yeah.
So it was a two-family house. I know I'm out of sequence here, but 763 was a block away from Vornaco Park in Elizabeth in the Jewish Elmora section. And this was the second house because they lived down by the port with great-grandpa, you know, above the store. So this was really moving uptown. They did
It was.
live on the
It's a nice
second
house.
floor.
Rick,
eh,
the other picture was of the wrong house.
no, Mark, that was the right view. I'll go there.
Yeah, no, I see.
That's the side view.
I do.
That's the side view from Bellevue.
Is that right?
Yeah. If you look at the 3 windows on the right, that's in the living room. And then the
Yeah.
other windows were like the spare bedroom. I guess inside the indent. In the back was the area where Grandpa had that little den with the lounge chair.
Yeah. When I Googled it, it had 763 next door to that. So
No,
you're saying
they
it was
were,
on
they were on the corner house. I remember distinctly anyway.
okay.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so. So this is her passenger record from Ellis Island. The New Rochelle, I had a picture of the ship actually, September 17, 1920 from Hrushchev. Max and his father had arrived a few years earlier.
Yes.
So she was born in 1902 based on her age of
Rick,
arrival.
Rick. You know why?
Why?
Do you know why they left?
Are you talking about Sarah?
Both of them. Do you know why they left?
Well, there were pogroms. World War II had just ended.
Yeah,
No.
actually,
One had
the
ended.
story with Sarah was that Sarah was actually accompanying an aunt who was going to be boarding the ship to come to the U.S. And if I understand this right from my dad, he said that aunt died en route, and Sarah realized that trouble was coming in Europe and she couldn't really go back. She took literally all the clothing and stuff that she had with her, and she used the passage, and she took the ship to the U.S.
She couldn't
Yeah.
go back. The borders were already closed.
Yes. No. That's the story I heard, but you can look it up on Wikipedia. In truth, what happened was at the end of World War I, the Russians invaded Poland, and for a short time in the 1920s, there was an invasion of Poland by the Russians, and it was at that point that both Sarah and Max separately, within months of each other, left. Hrushchev was right in the line for the invasion, and they thought that the Soviets or the Russians were going to take over Poland, but after they went to the west of Hrushchev to Warsaw, a settlement was entered into, and the war ended. That's the story. Max used to tell over and over the story about he fled because the Russians were coming, and they were, and he got out before the Russians got there. It turned out that the Russians never stayed. But that's the story, and it's a true story.
Well, the remainder of the relatives, as Grandma told me, were all wiped out in the Holocaust. They actually have a Wikipedia and the Jewish history website talk about the march. Those that weren't killed were marched to on a death march
right.
to one of the concentration camps. I think the only survival we had that Roman. You remember him, Roman Geller?
Sure.
Yeah, he was like the only survivor in a slave labor camp.
Yes. Well, most of the Jewish population in Hrushchev and everywhere else southeast of Warsaw and Lublin were wiped out. There's no question.
Well, very few survived
Our families
till the end of the Second World War.
are completely fortunate that everyone was able to escape early, very early on in the 20th century. No question.
Well, we really wouldn't be having this conversation if it hadn't happened that way.
Yeah.
For sure. It's the roll of the dice. Okay, next slide. Oh, so this is Herbie humor. His idea of spring, or guess you guys, Jill, up in Buffalo, you can get a sense of this. Herbie sent me this a while ago. He told me he thought this up first, but he certainly related to the guy. And then Herbie sent me this one. He sent me some racy humor. This is one of the least racy. This is a picture of a watch he wanted me to get him. We had more conversations on the phone toward the end of his life, and I have to confess, when I have a few bottles of beer, I'm very loquacious. Oop. Let's see what. Yeah, speaking of beer, this is I don't think Herbie drank beer like I did, but I appreciated this, and he sent this to me because I like beer. Infinite number of mathematicians walk into a bar. The first one orders a beer. The second one, half a beer. The third one, a quarter of a beer. And the barman says, "You're all idiots," and pours 2 beers.
Because I'll never finish one.
This is reminded me of the, I guess maybe to remind your father of the family store. It was owned by, the family owned by, shut up, no, you shut up. And then, I only went through like 30 of these. I got these like every couple of days for years. This was one I liked. It was a record album that your father enjoyed. Godzilla Sings. The Terror of Tokyo trills terrific tunes in his debut.
You crushed my heart like I just.
Yeah. And this is a little Herbie philosophy. People wonder whether the glass is half full or empty. Misses the point. The glass is refillable. That sounds like Max humor, actually. Max philosophy. This is one he got a kick out of. The Wizard of Oz TV listing says, transported to a surreal landscape, a young girl kills the first person she meets and then teams up with 3 strangers to kill again.
This was one of his most favorite movies.
Right. Life becomes easier when you learn to accept an apology you've never got. One of his few serious conversations.
Oh, he sent that to you?
He loved the Zen of farting. We were talking about Taoist and Eastern philosophy, and he recommended this book.
Breathtaking.
Oh, sorry. I'll back it up here a little bit. Let me get back. Oh, sorry. Boy, I really... Okay, this is design and user experience. Geeks go get that. Did I get that? That was the Zen. Okay, I'll move a little faster on this since we're past most of the pictures. Herbie used to say engineers like to solve problems, and if there's no problems handily available, they'll create their own problems. This is a simplified engineering flow chart. As you can see, if it moves or it shouldn't move, there are 2 different solutions.
40 of duct tape.
Did you guys catch that? Yeah.
Yes.
A complex solution. Here's one from Herbie. 10 fun facts. You can't wash your eyes with soap. You can't count your hair. You can't breathe through your nose with your tongue out. Or you just tried number 3. And when you did number 3, you realize it's possible, but you only look like a dog. 7, you're smiling right now because you were fooled. 8, you skipped number 5 because 5 wasn't in there if you didn't notice. You just checked to see if there was a number 5, and that's the kind of humor. Then he sent me this book just years ago to give to my kid, Michael, when he was little, like Thomas the Tank Engine. And he sent us the little engine that said, fuck it. This was Googling when we all went to school. This is a little bit of what Herbie taught in school. And still gives me nightmares when I remember I hadn't studied, or at least the dream said I hadn't studied before the final. This is an engineering, what friends think they do, what my mom thinks I do, what society thinks we do, what electrical engineers do, what I do, and what I think I do, and what you really do is just write reports. I think Jeffrey's the third generation of engineers in the family, and he appreciates it. This is a schematic that I'd gotten from Herbie related to the tube television we had years ago. Oh, I have to apologize. After this, I had this in another slideshow, but it applies. Everything happens for a reason, but sometimes the reason is that you're stupid and you make bad decisions. And certainly that has no place in this this discussion, but I'll have to show you why it's here. I happen to have a copy of the WikiLeaks of Hillary's email from when I was at the State Department. And I don't know if you can read it, but the subject of Hillary's email was gefilte fish. And the mystery is, her message is simply this: where are we on this? So, I don't know. I don't think it reveals as much as Trump would have thought, but that's my little bit of politics. I think it shows her good side, the fact that she's concerned so much about gefilte fish. Maybe that has to do with planetary ocean and making sure the gefilte fish are preserved for next generation.
Climate change.
So more of Herbie's jokes. His favorite blackboard or green board. Here's a good one he sent me. He says, I can't find my cell phone anywhere. I think he was talking about one of you guys.
For us, we could never find our cell phones.
Right, especially when it's between your neck and your shoulder.
Right.
As you go through these, you're going to see more and more puns. As you know, no pun was too corny for Herbie.
Hair curler.
Oh, sorry. Backed up too fast. Here's one. Being bottom of the ninth, 1 run down, 2 outs and a runner on second. Barry knew his team's only hope was a double base hit. Oh, it's grown. Greg plays, Greg Singer plays the bass, played the bass.
Cello.
He played the cello, you're right, right. Well, for me, anything bigger than a violin was a bass. Your father loved this one. He loved nature, particularly, he never got a photo, but a picture of an African antelope. And as a mathematician, he taught math. Fibonacci's career in printing was brief. And all of us who've taken mathematics know about Fibonacci. So anyway, it's one of those inside jokes, right? Your dad got a kick out of this. Just for perspective, a 1 terabyte hard drive I just bought for $25 from Newegg. It's sold here in the 1980s for $3,500, which is more than some used cars sell for. Okay, this is one of, tell me if this is boring to you guys. Math jokes. Oh, this was good. Uncle Herbie sent me this because we were talking about what is the easiest way to reset the 12 o'clock that used to flash on your VCR every time you plugged it in and plugged it in again. The kids don't even remember VCRs, but your dad had the greatest solution. He fixed it good. Never had a problem with it again. This is past funds are the first sign of madness. Too much pie will give you a large circumference. Cake, sure, and it's the pie sitting in the chair, naturally. The guy who invented zero, thanks for nothing. And then there's frequency named hertz, megahertz, and gigahertz. This is the kind of stuff that your dad and I like this one. I feel like I'm never included.
So, Ricky?
Yeah.
Rick? Going back to your hertz, megahertz, one of the things that my dad did with his students is when he was teaching sound, he would have them come back as an assignment to give definitions for bell. So we had like bell and decibel and taco bell. And
That's
it would
great.
frustrate the students to no end, and because this one student got really said, I spent hours and hours and hours trying to find this, and the only thing I could come up with is some musician named Taco Bell. And my dad said, yeah, you're right. And the students were curious, and my dad said, this is to teach that there's more to life than just engineering.
No question about it. Oh, sorry. BuzzFeed. This is the lowest form that we get into. Hey, bug on my back. Are you a mite? And he says, I might be. And the mite says, stupidest pun I ever heard. And the bee says, what do you expect? I just made it up on the fly. That's a double pun. Your dad loved the double puns. This is Boolean algebra, which to be or not to be that's a very esoteric bit of humor. And this translates into I ate, 2 to the third, some, which is sigma, pie. I ate some pie and it was delicious. By the time you figured it out, you're not laughing anymore. But, we find anything amusing. Your dad sent me this one. I'm reading a book on anti-gravity. And it kind of goes with our sense of levity. Oh, and there's a man in my suit, right? I just heard that oxygen and magnesium were going out, and I was like, OMG, oh my God, right? Okay, Sparky, your mother and I are shocked at your current behavior. Until you learn to conduct yourself properly, you're grounded. So, obviously this is for a bunch of students in this electrical engineering class who were very bored that afternoon. Didn't take much to... Oh, I like this one. If you took physics, you know about the 3 phase angles. So, and it looks like a gangster sign. I thought it was pretty cool. And then this is really corny about New Year's resolutions. Matter of fact, your dad sent me this email every January since the late 1990s. Without a doubt. He doesn't remember. He keeps sending it to me, and I keep telling him, you sent me this years ago. Look at the monitors. They're like CRTs. Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. That's
right.
You're probably here. Schrodinger's cat, you may have heard of.
Yep.
Right, and this is an interesting chart. I'll pause here where you guys can talk about it a little bit, but you don't have to say it out loud, but just say the color and not the word. You can do it in your head, but you can't do it out loud, I'll bet you.
No, he's the only one, but you can see now. Here.
Hey, I'm home.
Greg, can you hear us?
Okay, your dad sent this is something about coffee. I forgot exactly what the caption would have been, but we can make up our own.
There's no charge for this.
No, there's Patty. Okay, and here's another one of Herbie's math jokes. Get real.
Hey, Rick, I'm home.
Oh, hi, Patty. I'm recording this so you can see it later, what you missed. Some good photos earlier.
Okay. Can I say hello to everybody else on the phone?
Oh, yeah, let me pause
Who else
this.
is there?
You go ahead and introduce yourself, and I see everybody on the list. We got 14 different folks plus some phone calls.
Hi.
They can hear you but not see you. I'm going to mute.
Hi, Patty.
Hello, Pat.
Hi there.
Your brother Mark.
Hey, Jeff. Who else?
Mark is here.
Hey, Mark. Who else?
There's a lot of other people here. They're all on mute.
Oh.
And as far as I know,
Hi
all the
there.
pets that are owned by all the people and all the families are not taken.
If
I see
you,
Linda's there.
if you look on the, are you on your iMac in the office, in your little office, Patty?
No, I'm just at home.
We're in the home,
Oh, you're at home. Yeah, yeah.
on the iMac.
I heard, and your Uncle Mitch.
This is Patty,
That,
cousin Patty. Would have been Ricky's sister.
been watching the whole thing.
Okay, like I said, I'm recording this, so I'll put it all up on YouTube when it's over. So no worries if you miss some of it to go get some water, go to the bathroom or whatever. I've got this. We're going to run this until 10:30 or when everyone's tired, so there's no rush. No question about who thought this was funny, Uncle Herbie. All right, here's another one. Now that we're talking about being an atheist, as I know Herb was, and I like exponential. Herb's sense of humor was exponential. All I can say.
It's every day.
It said I think there are higher powers than this. If that's what you mean.
That's some good ones.
So he says to the cube. Okay, I don't take responsibility for all this. That's a plasma screen over there. And this is one that Herbie really liked because he sent me this twice. He gave a bakery a photo on the thumb drive and they put on the cake, and this is the cake they made. So you get it, right? It's a. It's
I don't
basic,
quite get it.
Well, they just put a picture of the thumb drive on the tape,
Right.
not the picture.
And being a dog lover, he liked this one.
Sit on the couch.
He was very lenient with the dogs, and they knew it.
So every morning he thought about who would get what.
Yeah, I'm sorry you never met the dogs. Yeah. This is a typical Herbie joke. And another one of Herbie's favorite mathematic jokes. I think if you have to explain it, it's not funny anyway to explain it. So, but whatever. We talked about future and artificial intelligence and robots taking all the jobs. Matter of fact, we had this conversation only a few months ago when Donald Trump became president. And we're talking about the economy has changed because of robots. And so he says, so in this cartoon it says, don't worry, your job is secure, Sims. You're our token human. So, I don't know. We got a kick out of it. This was definitely a Herbie. I'd like a $400,000 loan to finance a business plan. And she says, what's the plan? I'm quitting my job and leaving the country. This is another good favorite record of Uncle Herbie's, the Holy Milkman. I don't know if you've seen it. The Courts of Love. This is electrical. I know Jeffrey gets it, right? Like this. When I was a kid, you had to wait for the TV to warm up. You couldn't just watch it and turn it on instantly. And he said, you think he's telling the truth? And the kid says, I think he just had a slow internet connection. Oh, yeah, this is more typical of the graphic jokes of Herbie. It was always the delight to log on to my email in the morning and see these. Tan lines, tangents.
Yep.
I like this. He's calling from his new Android smartphone. This is part of his, it includes unlimited data.
I love it.
Right? I mean, it's an inside Star Trek joke, I guess. And then here's another electrical joke. He says, neutron coffee. I'll take one. How much? No charge. Neutrons No charge.
What a collection. 30,000 shows.
If this is boring, you guys, this is what Herbie was. You know, if he had the chance, he'd stand up and make you go through this anyway. So, you know, the chemistry, guys. Puns are the first sign of madness. I think we had that before. Oh, this is good. Do you remember being able to get up without making sound effects? And internet. This is fortuitous, I guess, and if you're going to get philosophical about our limited time here. I like this. Always share the password. And I feel like I'm not paranoid. Everyone in my family knows we use the same password over and over again. And if anyone wants to hack into me, I got nothing to be ashamed of or be afraid of. And I don't have enough credit limit on my credit cards that I'm worried about it. I like this. Nobody will see his browser history now. Anyway, that was a good one. And that's it. But that's all, folks.
That's great, Ricky.
So I have this little tribute video, if you guys can get the audio, but I thought this is a good time to, I mean, I shared enough of my memories, but it pales in comparison to you three girls. So why don't we open it up for your mics?
Hey, I don't think Jeannie has access to audio, but maybe if she wants to type something in the chat box.
But your phones, is that what he's asking for? Is it something different?
Yeah.
Maybe Jeannie could dial in, because I know she should be able to talk over the phone.
She doesn't have a cell phone, or I don't know what she said there was a problem.
Well, I know that she was in a real bad way emotionally about this, you know, earlier, and you know she's going through a lot of health issues right now, as you know, and one of the dogs just died of cancer, so sorry, you know, going through this.
Well,
but why don't you guys, you know, share? We really enjoy hearing about.
I think
and Jill will hear it because she's. I mean, Jeannie will hear it because it'll be on YouTube.
Yeah, I think Linda has a somewhat more kind of serious story like. But what I did in the little bit of time before logging on, I kind of put a little list together about things that I remember about my dad. So it's kind of like a top 10 list, although there's, I think, more than 10 items, but I kind of merged a few. So I can kind of go through that list if people want to hear it.
Sure.
Of course you do.
Is that okay? Read the list?
Yes. Yes, Jill.
All right. So here's some things I put on my list. Some of the things you guys remember. So moments that stand out in my memory of Dad. Making tights for 15 kids, 8 or 6, and taking us off of stuff. Making waffles for us on snow days when school was closed. Remember that, guys?
Oh, of course.
Making Get Smart tapes so we could listen to them whenever we go places. Taking us skiing and developing a numeric code to use on postcards.
I want to mute everyone's mic so we can start over again.
What's that?
Because it's been hard to hear.
We're getting too much cross chat. I can't.
Thank you, Rick, for sharing all of this beautiful memory with all of us.
Okay.
You are treasured.
Okay, I've just unmuted Jill and Linda. You guys still there?
Yes.
Okay. So I just muted everyone but you guys.
Okay, so now I guess I'm on, okay. I'm not sure what's happening next, Ricky.
Was Jill
I thought
sharing some memories or something?
Jill was doing her top 10 plus list.
Yeah, I thought I had unmuted her. It says audio not connected. Is she on the phone or something? Let me unmute and hopefully no one else is talking so we can hear everyone. So hold on a second. I'm going to try to sort this out. Sorry. Unmute. Okay, I think I just unmuted everybody. Okay, everybody,
Okay, so
you can mute yourselves, but Jill, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Sure, we can. Okay, we're
Yes.
good. We just get too much background noise.
Okay, so anyway, this is just a random list. I tried to put it in some kind of chronology about things that when I think of my dad, things that I remember about him. So it starts with making kites for 15 kids aged 6 and then taking us off for pizza. That was my first grade birthday party that he did that.
Not just making the kites. He got 15 kites up in the air at one time.
Right.
Yeah, he flew 15
I forgot about
kites.
that part of it. And then making waffles for us on snow days when school was closed. My sisters and I can remember him yelling up the stairs that no school and that waffles were ready, and we would come stampeding down for breakfast. My dad loved Get Smart, so he made, these are back in the reel-to-reel tapes, but he made Get Smart tapes so that we could listen to them when we would go places. And I remember one time when his car was broken into and they actually took the Get Smart tape, my dad put an ad in the paper and said, please return the Get Smart tape, no questions asked. But it was such a traumatic loss for him. Taking my sisters and me skiing, and then kind of I merged this with, and developing a numeric code that we would be able to use on postcards that we sent home from camp. So remember, guys, we used to get postcards with just numbers on it. And
That's right.
And before we would leave for camp, my dad would give us the translation sheet. So like instead of saying, hi, how are you, that would be a number 2. Like the weather is bad, that's a number 5. So you would just get this little card with a series of numbers. And he thought that was more efficient. I remember watching the original Star Trek episodes with my dad, and we used to watch them probably 10, 15 times, and an episode would start and my dad would always say to me, I think this is a new one. Of course, this was 10 years after they stopped making the original Star Trek and that was impossible, but he still thought that he was seeing new episodes.
Yeah, the ironic part is every time you watch an episode, you pretty much knew from the beginning how it was going to turn out. You know, you said earlier about the red shirts, etc. So he was pulling your leg.
He taught all 3 of us how to drive a standard transmission car. Do you remember that, guys?
Right, and we had to stop the car on Nine-Way Drive, which was a very steep hill, and start it from scratch in the middle of the hill.
Right, and so he taught us the trick with the emergency brake.
Without doing that.
Right, and another thing
What kind of car was this, girls?
I think we learned on like anything from, I think it was a Volkswagen one time, a Studebaker, anything. It was a standard car. That was all I knew.
Yes.
Was it a Honda one time?
Well, we did have a Pinto for a while.
Right, right. That my dad insisted that all 3 of us take physics in high school. I remember riding bicycles on the beach in Cocoa Beach, Florida, and watching the launch of the space shuttle. I remember, and I think I still have, the jean jacket my dad bought me on the weekend that I got my PhD. And this one, this one might resonate with a lot of people. Sending cartoons and interesting links to science articles. Ricky, you may have gotten all the ones with engineering. I got all the ones with climate change and plate tectonics.
I have to ask you, Jill, I can't even imagine what's humorous about it. I don't think even Gary Larson would touch that.
Oh, it can be very funny. But and so I guess just a couple of parting things about my dad. What I will cherish the most is my dad's sense of humor, his generosity, his love of teaching and sharing knowledge, his support of my career and life decisions, and his steadfast loyalty. My dad was sentimental. He loved dogs. He would do anything for my sisters and me. We were not particularly demonstrative sharing our feelings, but no doubt we loved each other, you know, through thick and thin. The last thing that I can really remember about my dad was that he had a way of saying very meaningful things with relatively few words. So generally when he would email me, it would not be a lengthy message. It would be usually very succinct, often just down to a sentence or less. I guess that was his engineering efficiency. But when I was getting ready to climb Kilimanjaro, after I was recovered from a serious bicycle accident and some surgery, this is the message that my dad sent to me. This is one of the longest messages that I ever received from my father. And it says, "Hi, Jill. Whether you get to the summit or not, you are a winner in my book. It takes guts and courage and lots of resolve. My next comment is to brush up on your Swahili language and take a helium-filled balloon to and hang on to it to weigh less. Love, Dad."
I just unmuted. You missed the best part of my laugh.
But, you know, that's one of my favorite messages that I got from my dad. And so I will really cherish that. So, you know, I guess at this point I'll kind of pass it on to Linda, who wrote, I think, some of her thoughts down as well.
I'm going to let my husband read it because I don't think I would not be able to get through it. It's probably too long, but that's the way it is.
It's not too long, and I'm Greg, Linda's husband, and I mean, this echoes my sentiments. It's been just a wonderful experience living with Herb these past 5 years. He's treated me like a son, and it's been truly a privilege and just great. He was such a kind, gentle, very generous man, fun-loving. We all know about his sense of humor. I love being taught by him. In fact, one of my first experiences, and I'll get to what Linda wrote in a moment. One of my first experiences being taught by him was when we went sailing on Lake Sagandaga, when Herb and Iris had a camp there. Herb explained to me using a carnival comparison of how the sailboat went forward when you were going into the wind. And it made a lot of sense, and ever since then I called him the Shell Answer Man, and we love being compared with that. So this is what Linda wrote about her dad. Nearly 5 years ago, and I'm going to read this, but I can't guarantee that I won't get choked up either. Nearly 5 years ago, I brought my dad back to the cold Northeast. He was not entirely happy leaving the warmth and sunshine of Florida to the snowfall and cold of New Hampshire. As he was making this move, we were the boxes of computer stuff, electrical wires, connectors, and bits of various sorts in addition to much of the contents of his home. As I was to discover, he was a saver, also believed in duplicates and replicas. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, sorry. I'm going to mute everybody. I'm going to mute everybody. Give me a second, and then I'll put your mic back on. Okay, Greg?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think you're the only one unmuted. Go ahead. Can you hear me and talk back, Greg?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
All
You're
right.
good. Everyone else can.
All
I'm
right.
going to mute mine too.
All right. As this move was being contemplated and Greg and I were talking things over, I told him that I did not really know my dad. I had spent nearly 30 years in primary care medicine with little free time. One of the first things I did in retirement was visit my dad in Florida. After that visit, it seemed to me that he was in need of help and support after my mother's death the year prior. He reluctantly agreed, and that began our 5 years together. It is not every daughter who gets to reconnect to a parent in this way. My dad had shown his own space above our garage. We shared many meals and activities. I called myself his social director, but in truth, I was gaining a friend in addition to a father. Though I often did not follow his puns or pay full attention to his stories, I discovered how wonderful my dad was. He was easygoing, completely accepting, fun-loving, kind, appreciative, and generous. He remained childlike in so many good ways. He liked visiting his first food cooperative. He was happiest with well-made but not overpriced pizza, hot dogs with the fixins, and ice cream. We were always on the search for pineapple sherbet, as it was my mother's favorite. We almost had an ice cream establishment make a special order of 100 gallons, except they always seemed to find a reason why they didn't get to it, and then they went out of business. He told and retold the stories of his early life with my mother, their dates, his jobs to earn money to go to a movie, food, and a bus ride home. As a child, my dad was almost always present. He drove me to my piano lessons. He rescued me from school when I got my finger stuck in the glue jar. He took us on family hikes, even if he drove us to the parking lot near the top of the mountain. We relived this experience on Mount Greylock a few summers ago. He loved taking us apple picking. When he moved here, I dutifully planted 2 apple trees so he could pick a delicious apple from our property. Unfortunately, the trees were far from productive. I hope to plant more in his memory. I brought him to the Nelson Church socials where he cut vegetables and bought a mandolin for their kitchen. He scooped ice cream and introduced his sundae to the children with the toppings on the bottom. He researched purchasing dry ice to help keep the ice cream from melting, but no luck. After all, this is a very rural New Hampshire community with 600 residents and our own famous town band. We went to lunch at the local Harrisville store. He joined me in our regular adult music group where he told stories and supported the performers of varying skill levels. He started every day by sending us cartoons, often related to some discussion we had had the day prior. I always knew we saw the world similarly. Without his patient teaching, I would never have gotten through my requisite pre-med classes. He made learning fun. So many of my less than ideal habits were almost identical to his. Seeing myself in him was special to me. We were both delayed speakers. We had fun together. It was so very easy spending many hours together. He was a good listener, and he cared about the world, was willing to acquire new information, and genuinely cared about how others lived. He talked to strangers in the grocery store, gave food to the homeless on street corners, and so easily went with the flow of life. My husband, Greg, treated and regarded my dad as a father. I could not have asked for a better life partner as we embarked on this journey with my dad together. My dad was a constant presence in our life. He became my close friend. I know I should have been better prepared for this, as he had a weak physical heart. There is no preparation for the extreme loss of someone you love. I have solace in the discovery of my dad as a truly wonderful person in my adulthood. It also is a potent lesson on how to live life more fully and cherish those special people in our lives. I love you, Dad, and miss you so incredibly. You will be in my heart forever. We will continue to share wonderful times and memories together. I know Greg feels the same. With great love, appreciation, and hugs, Linda, Greg, and your favorite New Hampshire doggies, Bobo and Camet.
Thank you, Greg. You know, I'm overclamped myself. I wasn't prepared for this. Thank you. You're lucky. You're both really lucky. And I try not to have any regrets in my life, but I really feel badly that I didn't take you up on your invitation. You know, it's no excuse. I only deprived myself of living my life. And thank you. I'm just...
Well, it was meant from the heart, and I fully share Linda's sentiments. Herb was just a wonderful presence in our life, and it's changed me.
But he would have loved to have seen you, but he was accepting of whatever happened, and he spoke of you all the time.
He did, truly.
And loved all of these people in his life, and yet put no burdens of expectations.
Right. He was non-judgmental.
And he lived in his memories.
Mm-hmm.
It was enough.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, I could speak for Bill, and I know they were as different as any two brothers or could be. I know that I don't think I'm unique. As a matter of fact, you know, when I talk to fellow engineers, I don't really talk about engineering. I actually have an inferiority complex when it comes to it. And it's your dad that kind of made me feel like, well, it's fun, just have fun with it. And I think that most of those folks who know, you know, how I got into engineering was, you know, through the need door, not the want door. I just wanted to make movies, you know, pictures and sound, and express myself. And the technology came as like a means to an end. You know, even now I just solve problems, and I just try to be a good person, and which Bill and Herbie both had. And well, I mean, I'm talking about me, but it's about all of us, you know, and you know, it's a gift to have the self-discipline, I guess, in a sense, or maybe no, it's the unending curiosity, I think, that made, you know, that he led the way, and we're always, that's kind of like behind the humor and the jokes. We were always curious, somehow this never-ending desire to know why, you know, why does it do that? Why does it work this way, you know? And you said, thank you, you know, you said I was like the son he never had, but he didn't need a son with you guys. I mean, he had so many children to love. But I remember when he came to Battle Hole Terrace, you know, and visited, I think it was around the twins' birthday, bar mitzvah or something. And he went upstairs and took the back off of an old television and explained to me, you know, how it worked. I was just so fascinated how electromagnetic waves, how pictures get through the air into the TV, and he made it understandable and fun to learn, you know. So I don't think I could have really made it into any other area of engineering other than electrical, because it was like magic. And something about Dad, you know, made it feel like magic, you know. I guess we shared that. Star Trek and Wizard of Oz, you know. Maybe that's what you all share, is that life is so magical. I mean, the fact that we're just here, and the way that nature has evolved through natural selection, what chance it is that we're all here at the same time. And Mark talked earlier about the pogroms and how you know, it's just so arbitrary, you know, that we were all survived and they survived, and then, you know, our whole family tree came out of it. It's I wouldn't say it's capricious, because you're assigning some kind of agency to why things are. That's why he was an atheist. I mean, that's part of the magic. It's not just the roll of a dice. It's what you do when the dice is rolled in front of you, you know. And that's all up to us. That's all that's left is love, right? I had this, I'll play the video now if you guys want to see it again. But the ending of what I wanted to put together had that Beatles bit where they sing, and in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. I mean, obviously that's as corny as all your dad's jokes. But it's just as true. There's always humor and truth. Guys, you go ahead and talk some more if you're still. I'm sorry, I didn't dominate the conversation.
Are we muted?
No, I think everyone's unmuted now. I unmuted already.
Oh, we're unmuted. Okay.
Yeah, so anyone else?
So I guess,
Hey,
Ricky,
guys.
I didn't. Do you have the video of my dad at the beach, or is that?
Yeah, I'll put it up online. No, the video at the beach, for some reason when I downloaded it, it came down as 0 megs. I don't know what the problem was, but we'll put these all up online. I'm sorry, I can't share that one. I've got a bunch of other ones, but not that particular. You know what? Let me take a look. I'll see if I can. Would it be okay if we just put it online? I think I saw a clip of it. It was the vertical one from the camera, right?
It's the one, it's the video where Linda and my dad are going into the water at Cocoa Beach.
No, that didn't come through.
Huh.
But yeah, I mean, sorry, I wish I could have been, you know, I mean, it was a labor of love, and I, you know, kind of worked through the night. I'm not saying it was, I'm not any kind of sacrifice.
You did a wonderful job.
I really did the best I could to put it all together.
You did a wonderful, beautiful job in organizing this, and thank you so much.
Well, it's, to me, it's like this, I would have spent this much time getting, you know, on a plane or in a car, getting up to New Hampshire and back. The only thing I regret is that we don't have, you know, there's all this cool, magical, virtual stuff. You can't hug one another. So that's, you know, I'm really into technology, but I understand its limitations. So anyway, hey, you guys want to see this video? I'll roll it again.
This is actually the chat, not number of people, so you can, that's all the comments people are making.
Oh, the number of comments.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I see.
Are those
Jill, to live with Linda and Greg. Yeah. You guys can read all this stuff. Mitch, did he live in New Hampshire the last 5 years? Mitch asked a few minutes ago. Mitch, your mic should be on. You should be able to talk.
Yes, Herb lived with us in New Hampshire. Next month, April, would have made 5 years.
This is Ralph Folger. I worked with Herb for many years.
Hey, Ralph, how are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
Jill.
Hi, Jill.
Hi, Jill.
How's it going?
Not bad. I retired officially from the college many years ago, but was doing some consulting work with them up until the 31st of August last year, so I'm now retired as well. I think Herbie would have loved this medium. It's just, you know, being a communications person all of his life. But I was just thinking some of the things that he did that were sort of really crazy when we were together as office mates, and then later on when I became department chairman. He gave me reports, a couple of reports one time, put them on 5 1/4-inch floppy disks, and then put a memo on top that he stapled through the disk.
Sorry, I got to mute my mic. You know he did that on purpose, right?
Of course. And we had an office that had metal walls, Another time he took a big, huge disc magnet and took one of the floppy disks and stuck it on my door with the big magnet and said, you really like this report. We were doing some stuff with some students one time. We were going to show a movie of some kind. I can't remember what it even was, but the kids were, not really interested. He had a little cassette player underneath the movie, and when he started the movie up, he hit the button on the cassette player, which played the theme to Star Wars. And it's amazing how fast the kids' heads popped up. He used to do tests. It was unique the way he did his testing. He would give out tests that had different questions on different people's tests. So they weren't too sure what to do. And then if he wanted to do the same test, he would print it on different colored pieces of paper. So no one was ever sure what they were going to be getting with them. When he retired, I'll tell you, it was I went into a funk for a long time. I really missed him around the office. We went up to the campus several times, and I've only seen Saturn's rings once, and that was through Herbie's telescope.
Which we still have, by the way. We still have Herbie's telescope. He gave it to us.
And we have one also because he saw one in a second-hand shop, and he said, well, I hope to use this, but when I'm no longer around, please donate it to our Nelson Library. So I will be, I'll be somewhat happy to get it out of my kitchen.
One of the other things that he did, when slide rules became no longer as valuable as they once were, we were all using calculators. He took a Pickett, a Post, and a K&E slide rule and put them on the back bench in the lab. And 7 weeks later, they were still there. So it sort of said that the slide rule was dead because the kids didn't even know what it was.
I think I saw that in the movie once.
Also, my kid's fondest memory of Herb is he used to call them to tell them knock-knock jokes. And my kids will never forget all the knock-knock jokes they heard from her.
Hey, sorry about that. I shouldn't have rolled it. I didn't know the audio was coming through, but keep on going. I'm not going to roll this till the end.
Well, that's okay. I was just remembering Herbie the way it was. I was very happy when he came into Troy and we got a phone call, come over and have lunch, because I hadn't seen him in a long time. When he went down to Gulf Coast, it sort of severed our close connections.
It's good to hear about this stuff as part of him, side of his life that we never hear about and heard about.
Whose dog?
My dog, sir. Must have heard something.
You're scaring Sam.
Sam's her cat. Ralph Folger.
So Ralph, you mentioned some stories about working with Herb. I mean, one of the most enjoyable parts of being with Herb was our discussions over dinner, and clearly the way he looked at phenomenon, always asked very interesting questions about how things work, came up with wonderful ideas, clearly thought out of the box. And I especially loved watching Linda and Herb interact because I could see that she got her ability to think out of the box from Herb. It was just a wonderful experience. Always had an original, fresh approach to things.
Well, he was, when I was going to Hudson Valley as a student, he was one of my teachers and one of my better teachers. I enjoyed it. And then I went away to college, and I came back and taught at the school, and I became a colleague. But he was always student-focused. which was a plus. You know, one of the nice things about community colleges is that it's student focused, and he was definitely a student focused instructor.
And he loved his women students. We would always hear if there was one or two in a given semester.
They were so rare.
They were rare. Middle sister, my
mother Iris,
my dad.
sister Jeannie, and her ex-husband.
Okay, and because there's 2 grandchildren, right?
Yes. That's, I guess.
Well, Lynn?
Yeah.
And, oh. Oh, the balloon ride.
Yeah,
Yes,
sorry
the
about
balloon
that.
ride.
You know, in retrospect, the PowerPoint was a better idea than the video.
Well, can you stop? Can you just hold us for a moment?
Oh, yeah. That's all I was
Okay.
trying to do is advance it to another picture. But
Okay, so this was on.
This is a work in progress. I don't know anybody who's used this technology for a family
For services.
memorial service.
So getting on a balloon ride was on my bucket list. So when I turned 61, I made arrangements to go on a balloon ride in Vermont. And my dad at that time was well enough to join us. Actually, I spoke to the owner of the balloon ride, and I said, you know, my dad is 85, and he has bad heart disease, and can he go up on a balloon? And the guy says, oh, yeah, if he can get in a balloon, he'll be just fine. So anyway, the one reason why I'm smiling like that is because my father survived the balloon ride, because it was no easy feat getting him into that balloon, nor me, because the exhaust from the propane torch was going right on top of his face, and his face was becoming redder and redder. It was a hot day, and this heat was absolutely incredible. And his hat he had lost his hat and couldn't access it, so I used my hat to shield him from this unbelievable heat that was coming down. But eventually the balloon went upright, and we made it, and he had a great time. And literally a day or two later, at $1,000 down, he says, let's do it again next week. I felt lucky enough we survived the first one.
Did you do it again?
No. But he thoroughly enjoyed this balloon ride. I guess you can go to the next picture, maybe. I don't.
Sorry, yeah, I'm just going to roll into the video so you'll hear a little the sound. I hope it's not too distorted. And also, since it's streaming, it's not as good as you'd watch it if you just watched it on YouTube later. But here you go. It'll be about another 25 seconds or so till the next picture. Okay, yeah, it wasn't quite 25 seconds, maybe 15 seconds between pictures. So I think we've seen some of these before, but why not, you know?
Yes, this is Jeannie.
Yep. And I think that's either Sharky or Shadow. I can't keep them straight. Recent.
2 years ago.
Probably within 2 years, a year and a half.
Yeah, well, we went like in March. This March would have been 2 years. We didn't go last winter. It was the winter before.
This is in Florida, in Gainesville.
This is Jeannie's home.
Yeah, you know, I was about to say, gee, it's really narrow, but beautiful greenery on each side. That's kind of a Herbie observation. All right, let me roll ahead. All right.
So this is in our home. That's me sitting down at the table. My mother is to my right. In back of her is her. And there's Linda holding our little dog Cammy. And to Linda's left my nephew Jordan is on the end, and his girlfriend Rachel is there. They were up visiting that weekend, and we had a lovely family day together.
My dad always insisted on making that sign with his hands. You know, he was. Well, you know, and isn't that a Buffalo State T-shirt, Jill?
Yes, it is. It's from an event that I run every year for student research. But my dad is doing the Live Long and Prosper sign.
You know, I know your dad.
He never grew up.
That Leonard Nimoy.
And you know what?
He got that from a rabbi uncle or something. That's a rabbinical sign.
Sign of
and Greg, are you wearing your Tanzania shirt, Pole Pole?
That's right.
You guessed it, Jill.
That's it. Nice. So Greg has a Kilimanjaro shirt on.
Right. People asked me if I climbed. I said no, it was a gift. My sister-in-law climbed it.
And that's actually, is that Bobo under the table?
Yes, that's Bobo.
His backside.
So Linda, was it
But
Jill?
my dad,
Jill,
pardon?
you climbed Kilimanjaro? Somebody said
Jill
that.
did.
I did.
Tell us about it.
I did. Well, it was on my bucket list, and I actually attempted Aconcagua a couple of years ago, but got blown off the mountain with wind. But Kilimanjaro is one of the 7 summits. So it's the highest point in Africa. It's really the only non-technical of the 7 summits. So I thought I would start there. It was just kind of something I wanted to do, and I had, I think, the year before, been in a bad accident riding my bicycle, and so it was my goal to get back kind of stronger than I was before, and so I trained for Kilimanjaro. And it was a wonderful trip. And I had two friends of mine that went with me. But they wouldn't go to Aconcagua with me.
Oh, that's pretty cool. You know, I realized that the video doesn't work as well streaming via GoToMeeting, but I'm going to put this stuff up on the web. I got a really good interview with Max, if you're interested, and you know, it would be great if any of you are so inclined. Just, it's so easy. Just turn on your mic and your video. It's built into every camera, every iPhone and laptop and so forth, and just do a little video diary and just tell us stuff. I mean, you lose some of the interaction, but it's a great way to share. And also, just as a motivation to keep us around for another 15, 20 years, I guarantee you that we'll look back at this technology that we're using here today and like say, geez, it's hard to imagine that we weren't able to hug one another, you know, with the avatars and all that stuff. At the very least, be able to do the Star Trek-ish materialization of whatever food we wanted to share and so forth. But anyway, I'm rambling, but this is, you know, everyone had a different relationship. Everyone knew a different Herbie, you know, and You know, it's good to hear about yours because, you know, we see him like from different angles, and it's interesting because I guess the same thing with Bill, you know. I mean, I had my relationship with Dad, and so did Mark and Patty, and we all remembered a different Bill, but it's like that, you know, it's like that movie Rashomon, you know, where you see the same thing from different angles. But it's treasure hearing it from all of you today.
Well, I think what's really interesting is that while the common denominator is sending people a lot of cartoons and really play on words, that my dad did not send us all the same cartoons. They were very much tailored to your particular area and connection to him. So as I said, I'd get lots of things about cats and mountains and geology, and clearly, Ricky, you were getting a lot with you know, engineering themes, mathematical stuff. So I think what's interesting is that he really was able to kind of keep us all straight in his head and really seek out the best cartoons for each of us. I think that's pretty neat that he would do that.
Yeah, I never realized that. I mean, it's also interesting that he was a dog person, and I was always a cat person, and Mitch and Patty were, and it was like, you know, it's quite a species relationship that, you know, cat people don't ever understand other cat people, but dog people don't understand cat people, so forth. And I know Greg and Chamoy, they have both species, you know. But what was that movie, Ghostbusters? And they were talking about the end of the world, apocalyptic dogs and cats living together, you know. But anyway, despite the fact we're all, you know, see different parts of each other.
But somewhat related, my dad would sometimes come at dinner time and tell us something that maybe wasn't quite true. Because, you know, I think the first time he really, in a long time, was really challenged by what he was saying was when he moved in with us. And so we would take out our iPad and we would look things up, and we would show him how maybe what he had thought was so wasn't. Well, 1 or 2 days later, we would get a cartoon absolutely specific to that conversation. So, you know, he was acquiring new information really to the very end. And so it's nice to actually see how someone isn't resistant to new ideas. It was our in-house neurologic exam. Because there were lots of things he forgot. So I always knew that as long as he could still do this, he was okay.
Well, you know, not that it's a big deal, but I think I've lost my access to the chat room. Is that possible?
Probably just need to see the gray bar that says chat. Otherwise, you have to leave and come back. But there's a little triangle that points to the right next to the word chat, and then you click on it and it turns down.
Yeah, thing is, I've been sending messages all along, but somehow it's not letting me get back into the chat. It's not letting me do chat.
Well, we hear your voice, so you can just do that. That's cool.
Good enough, right? Yeah. Whatever. But I'm not sure. Jeannie, are you still there? I tried to send a message to you.
I don't know that we got audio from Jeannie, but I'll relay a chat.
I think she may have found this difficult.
I'm going to go ahead and call her on the phone and sort of like put her on speaker, see what we can do there.
Yeah, she's offline. You're right. She may, yeah, I don't know. Whatever.
All my computer screens are like online. Could somebody relay me her phone number or just type it in the chat and I'll call her up?
I would, but it doesn't want me to chat.
Yeah, or just speak it out.
I'm looking it up.
I thought it was 941, but I might be wrong.
It's area code 352-753-7354.
I don't know if you guys can hear that.
No.
All right, anyway, it's ringing through.
Hello?
Hi, Jeannie. Hi. I got you on speakerphone, and everyone wanted to chat with you, but we think we lost you. So, you know, I will try to stick to your phone up to the mic or something, see if you can talk with all of us. I think we've kind of lost you on the call.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm having, I'm blind. I'm really very unable to handle any of the pictures or anything with the way that this is being done. I use some apparatus like computer.
All right. Well, can you guys hear what Jeannie's saying?
I know she can't see the computer that well, but was she listening, and is she okay?
They want to know, were you listening in? You could hear, okay, she's okay. And she's listening, you're online right now, we see your name there.
Yeah, but I can't do anything else. I have written in a message to tell everybody that I'm blind. I have no idea.
Got that part. But Jeannie, are you okay?
Anything. It doesn't work with my applications for the blind.
Yeah, she says she's okay. She says that the GoToMeeting doesn't work with her applications for the visually disabled. Visually impaired, yeah.
Okay.
But we know she's here.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure she was okay.
Okay, well, Jill and Linda just wanted to be reassured you're okay.
But I've just been listening and just sort of come to the conclusion that being blind, this is just one of the things that my applications don't work with.
Okay.
So I guess, are there more slides, Ricky, or is this pretty much?
Yeah, hey, we just want to make sure you're okay. Could you guys, can you hear me? So Jeannie, we're probably not gonna stay on for that much longer. We just want to make sure you were there, and then we're gonna just roll like this little 5-minute video, and then if you can see it, I'll put it up on YouTube. You might be able to make.
Can you put the whole thing on YouTube?
Yeah, I'm gonna put the whole meeting. I'm recording it with Camtasia, some software right now, but okay.
Maybe on YouTube.
Yeah, and I'm going to put all the photos up so that you could watch it at your leisure. But I'm sure I'm speaking on behalf of everybody. We love you, and we know you're here. So, visual and oral technology is not the only ways to communicate.
Okay. All right. Well, tell everyone that I love them and that I am listening. I'm just not able to really do much else with the applications that are available to me for the blind. But thank you for calling.
Okay, and I'll talk to you after the call, okay? Okay, bye. We love you. Bye.
I love you too.
Bye.
Congratulations.
I don't know how much of that you guys were able to make out.
If she was still on it.
So she's listening, but it's hard because of her her visual system and so forth, and it's rough. I feel really badly for her. I know it's frustrating.
Hey, Rick, can I just say something to Jeannie real quick?
No, she already hung up, but I can relay later, or you can call her. It was really hard.
All right. I thought she was listening. All right.
Oh, who's that speaking? Is that Patty?
Yeah, it's me. I've been here for the last 45.
It's hard to make out, with a little speaker whose voice is on at any given time. And there is a little scroll bar on the side that says who's on, but it's hard to see everybody's name at the same time. But I'll share you his phone number. I know she'd appreciate hearing from you, Patty.
So I guess the thing is, because we're almost out of time, Ricky, I just wanted to say a couple of things. One is...
Okay. Hey, before you go on, it's not a hard out at 10 o'clock. I extended it to 10:30. So don't feel like we have to wrap it up in 5 minutes.
It's a job.
Yeah, but I got to get some work done before tomorrow. I'm going to be in trouble. But I want to thank you for coordinating all of this, because to be honest with you, my sisters and I would never have pulled this together. I don't even think we thought about this. So it's really nice to be able to share all these memories and stories, and especially seeing some things with Max and Sarah, you know, our kind of common roots, which I think are very meaningful. The other thing is that you had mentioned in one of your messages that your mom is getting ready to be having a birthday. Is it almost 88?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, yeah, she's going to turn 88 on April 4th. I'm sorry she wasn't well enough to join us this evening. I asked her if she could, but she wasn't up to it. But yeah, she's the last of their generation. She was born, like 8 months before Herbie, and she's, you know, she's in a good place. She's at a place called, I hate to say it, it's actually pretty nice, but the Orwellian name of Freedom Village, it just always gets to me. My wife Grace's mother lived in a place called Sunrise Assisted Living. You know, I mean, come on, it's Sunset, but.
No, is it in Bradenton, that area?
Yeah, no, yeah, her place is in Bradenton. It's actually very beautiful, and she feels like a young kid because one of her bridge partners is over 100.
That's great.
And
I remember
my mom's got that competitive streak, so I don't think that she's given up anytime soon. She's keeping a pretty busy schedule, you know. And Herb's brother Bill died. What is it? 8 years ago? No, it's 9 years ago this summer, and he had a long illness, cancer, and dementia for quite a while before that. So I'm glad that Herbie was so sentient all these years, and that he had such good quality in the years, you know. And
I agree.
So much.
You know, I took my dad to visit your mom a couple of years before he left Florida. So that was really nice, because I think that was obviously their last, you know, chance to visit each other. So it was really meaningful for me to be there. And I used to talk to your dad when I would go visit my parents in Florida. We'd always have a call in, and I kind of, you know, recognized times when he was kind of starting to kind of, his cognitive ability was starting to slip. But I also think, one thing that I, you know, I don't think we've ever really said as cousins, but, you know, your dad literally saved Jeannie's life. She was really lost and struggling when she was probably in her early 20s, and she kind of ran away from home, and for good fortune, she ran to your home in New Jersey, and you know, your mom and dad took her in, and I really think Uncle Bill is the one that got her back taking college classes. And
can I say something? Hey, Rick, can I say something? Is that Linda talking?
Yeah, please.
That was Bill talking.
You've got the floor, Patty.
Actually, I've been trying to talk. I wanted to say something to Jeannie. That's probably, you know, Jeannie lived in the house when I was in high school for around 9 months, and you know, I was the only one left in the house at the time, and I think I may have been 16. I don't think I was driving yet. I think I may have been 15 or 16 when Jeannie was living in the house, and
my father absolutely took her under, not that my mom didn't, but it was my father's directive to get her to work, to be responsible in her house, to go back to school, and those memories are very, very strong for me, and that was, you know, a time that I was, you know, first exposed to somebody, a family member that was really, truly struggling, and she came out a different person when it was time for her to move on. And so she was
your father, Patty, your father saved her life. I really believe that.
He was very instrumental, and I think that, you know, obviously I didn't know your father that well, but, you know, when I worked with my father in the store, you know, part of the ritual in the morning was, you know, escorting the homeless down to the diner to get free meals. He never gave them money and gave them blankets and pillows at night. And then in the morning, you know, he gently escorted them up, and then he cleaned the foyer, and that was his ritual. And I don't think anybody really knew about how much he supported the homeless in Elizabeth. And they watched the store for him, and, you know, he fed them. He had an open tab for homeless at the diner down the street, and I was very fascinated about that when I was growing up, because I didn't know that much about my father and my grandfather, so I started working in the store and started seeing all this.
Yeah. And
at the same time, you know, Jeannie was living in the house, so that was all like an awakening for me about what was going on, and, you know, how my parents, you know, took Jeannie in, and she was really suffering tremendously. I didn't really understand everything because I didn't know what that really meant, what was going on, because I was fairly young and naive, but I didn't know that my father wasn't going to leave her on the street, and he wanted to make sure she was safe.
Yeah. No, I think, you know, I don't think that, obviously I never acknowledged you as, you know, Jeannie's sister for, you know, you, as I said, you opened your home to her, and she needed nurturing from a father figure. So again, to take nothing away from your mother, she let, you know, someone, you know, in her home that was in a very, you know, behaved very poorly during that time in her life. But the nurturing of, you know, Uncle Bill for Jeannie was a life changer. And the other thing about your dad that you should also know, and I know this is a memorial and remembrance for my dad, but, you know, obviously our families are very close and probably linked more than we even kind of stop to think about. But, you know, your dad was really the one who took care of Max in his final years, and he would make that trip, you know, literally you know, hours to get across the state of Florida to North Miami Beach, you know, to help Max and take care of things. And when Max died, and Bill was the executor of that will, and basically he had he really was owed essentially all of that money that was left for Max. But he remembered what Sarah had said years earlier, which is that he should share with Herbie. And so how honorable your father was, he gave each grandchild the same amount of money, and he split the rest with my parents. And that's what allowed them to put a down payment on and largely pay for the house that they lived in Florida. And so really without that, they would not have had the financial resources to get that house. And I just, you know, I'm sure you admire your parents, but I'm not sure you fully, you know, have heard from others that, you know, they are the most ethical, caring people that, you know, as I said, I know I didn't interact frequently or tell you this, but I have such strong positive feelings about, you know, your parents. I mean, they're really golden.
Thank you for saying that. And
my
you know,
father, My father actually recounted that story many times about Bill sharing what money was left from Grandpa, because technically Bill could have kept all of it, and he split it with my dad.
Well, I actually knew all of that story because in and out, I was living at home in the summers when I was going to school in Rhode Island, so I was quite aware, but not actually shocked because that's how Max and Sarah were. Everything was considered equivalent. I was probably most close to Max because I spent so much time with him in the store, and he constantly reminded me that no matter what, for all the grandchildren, including you, that everybody got equal monies for school. Whatever gifts we got, it was equal across the board. And, and I spent so much time with him, and they emphasized that story. So I'm not surprised that, when Max died, that my father did that, because that's how they were raised. I mean, it didn't really matter of time and time spent, caring for Max and doing all that. And one thing had nothing to do with the other, and that was the way it was done and thought about. And actually, as an adult, and I just broke up with my business partner, I feel the same exact way, that at the end, we were equal no matter what. And, I'm following the same path as my father and grandfather.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for sharing that, Patty. I just wanted to add is that, all money aside, because it's very transient, ethics and values, the words almost are meaningless, particularly in this state of cultural and political climate. But it is the only thing that really matters and really lasts. And money comes and goes. Dad, told me that many times, but by living the principles, it goes beyond, and I know Dad and Herbie were atheists, and so was Max, actually. Frankly, he never would say it, but he was. But the point is, the principles and ethics of life are part of us as the higher element of Homo sapiens. It's an adaptation that makes us successful, that we feel like not only do we take care of ourselves, but we've taken care of one another. And that's in essence all of what ethics is about, in my view. And I didn't make that up. I learned it from example.
Right. And I mean, I think, for me, when I would look in a dictionary for the definition of honorable, it would say William Singer. That's really how I felt about your dad, because I can't tell you how many times I think about, when people do not behave as they should, and I always think that, that's not that's not something that, I would ever associate with, your parents. They were just, and I really do think that my parents really appreciated that. I know my mother was, always spoke so fondly and with such appreciation of the gift, really, that your family gave to mine. So, I think the sad thing is that it takes the passing of my dad to kind of get us talking about this. But it's interesting, just like the cartoons, we all got a version of the story, the facts are pretty consistent, which is actually is pretty good, that the family recollection of these things are not vastly different. But again, I think it would really, I know my dad said to my sister Linda and me a number of years ago when we were together, and there were two things that my dad said in close proximity. One is that he had spent a day at the beach in Cocoa Beach, Florida, and he was like 85 years old. At the end of the day, he said to my sister Linda and me that he had just spent the happiest day of his life, which struck me as kind of funny that someone would be 85 years old and still saw life in such a positive way that they, even with aches and pains of being older, and even with cardiac issues and whatever, that he saw and had and felt such happiness. The other thing that he had said to me when, as we aged and he recognized that my sisters and I were close and supported each other and were there for each other, he said that he wished for nothing more, that he had all he wanted. He knew that we sisters would be there for each other and that he could die. He was ready to die. Not that he wanted to die, but he was ready to die, which I think gives me a lot of solace as we're doing this, because I think it really does translate what mattered to my father, and that is that we were, that we're here for each other. I think what would really even surpass my father's greatest hopes is that his death reconnects us as a family, because, we are we're a very small family, and we're really kind of what's left. And unfortunately, we don't know each other that well, and we don't know, each other's kids and what we've all been up to, and we don't even know each other's pets' names necessarily. So I think it would really give my father great pleasure to think that we're obviously spending this evening together, but that hopefully it's not the last of these kinds of evenings together. So Ricky, once you figure out all the technology behind this, we should periodically have our, kind of virtual reunions if we can't necessarily get one going face-to-face. But a face-to-face one would be pretty darn nice, too.
I agree with you, Linda, and I just want you guys to know also, I see a channeler periodically